Good evening. Oh, that's much better. Yeah, I'd like to welcome everybody to our Tuesday, May 28th City Council agenda. I now call this meeting to order. We will have a pledge of allegiance and invocation, should she please, from Councilwoman Coonrod. Wait.
May we bow our heads. Heavenly Father, let's bless this council to do all the good things for the city, to make everything good, and make hope for Tennessee even greater than it has to be. Look out for all the ones that's sick and shut-ins and people that need help and all other good things that everybody need. And let's make today a beautiful council day. In your name, Lord, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes and a second. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Thank you. Tonight we will have a special presentation from our Economic and Development Administrator regarding the Housing Connection. Ms. Williams, you have the podium.
Thank you, Chair. I will be brief because the chairman told me to be brief. I always yield to the chairman. Thank you all for giving us this opportunity. I will be presenting to you. If you will take one and pass it. This is the draft of our Affordable Housing Action Plan that was developed through a process that included, I think the number is 53 citizens from all districts. We have folks who live in those districts and folks who own businesses in your districts. And many of them are here today. If you are here and participated in the development of the Affordable Housing Action Plan, will you please stand, staff and volunteers?
Whoa.
Thank y'all for cutting your Memorial Day vacation short so you could be here with us. I will be brief. Council, you want to time me? So you all have the draft plan. It has quite a bit more, obviously, detail. I always forget which one it is. Okay, so let me just
Time's up.
I need a counter. I need the counter there. Okay, so let me tell you real briefly how we did this. We had 2 half-day sessions, one in November and another in December. I think that's right, Arletha, on a Saturday. And during those sessions, we had 115 different people participate in one or both of those days. We started off with a presentation given by John Bridger, who unfortunately is out ill today. John did a fabulous job, as he always does, and framed what we are looking at here in Chattanooga. I don't know if you guys have looked at Zillow or anywhere else to look at housing prices, both rental rates and price of housing, but sometimes it's hard to believe we're in Chattanooga with some of the prices that you see. So John gave us a really good overview of the national market, and then we talked about the local market, the conditions here, and what's driving some of the development and how successful some of the projects are actually being here in Chattanooga, which is great. We also talked about shifting demographics with the multiple generations in the housing market, multiple generations, many of whom are now looking for and using intergenerational housing, some intentionally so, some because kids can't get out of the house. And also trends in the housing, and as far as housing preferences, how housing preferences, housing types are changing. And then just the challenges and opportunities that present themselves here in Chattanooga. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Okay, at the conclusion of that, so 2 days we took well over 100 data points. We had breakout sessions, you know how we do the charrettes and the stickies and all of that. at the end of that, we asked, rather than having a satisfaction survey, we asked folks if they would let us know if they wanted to just be informed, which is basically I'll give you my email address and send me something whenever you want, or if they wanted to get in a deeper relationship with this issue we have for affordable housing. So you could just say you're informed, you want to be informed, or you wanted to be involved or invested. We had many people who wanted to be involved and invested, and the 53 people who have been working on the plan that I provided you fell into category 2 and or 3. Okay, so we had all these things all over the place, all over the wall, stickies and such, and the challenges that were put forth and the things we needed to problem solve for fell into one of 7 categories, and you'll see those teams there. Each of those teams got together. I think we had in excess of 40 face-to-face meetings and or conference calls with the combination of those folks. And you will see there what each of the team names were and the problem that they were getting together to solve. Now, so each of those teams had 1 to 7, I think was the largest number of recommendations for the mayor, for the council, and for staff. Some of these recommendations, I will say, I am presenting to you the recommendations from the group. I know that some of these recommendations differ from some of the things that individual council members are willing to embrace or want to embrace. And some of the things, frankly, are not allowed by state statute. But what I wanted to do was to present to you what the teams presented to us. I didn't want to edit any of those. So you can see some of the recommendations. In the plan that I gave you, you will see all of the recommendations by each team rather. You guys see those? That's it. If I have more minutes, I'll go back and point out a couple of things. May I?
Hold on 1 second. Vice Chairman Henderson.
Ms. Williams, I just want to make sure I understand. So the recommendations you have on this screen, I guess that's the screen, the team 1 through 7.
Yes, sir.
Those recommendations are what we have here, correct?
You have before you these recommendations and all of the rest of the recommendations. Our internal staff asked each team to give us one of their recommendations that they consider to be a priority for us to start working on immediately. But you will see some teams have 3, 5, 7 recommendations.
Well, I guess I'm looking at Team 4's recommendation
You
on
would,
here.
yeah,
and
Team
I agree
4.
with I agree with the ADUs, but I don't see the ADUs showing up in this paper right here.
Oh, team 4?
It does say increase and
I'm sorry.
diversify housing types.
Okay.
And I don't know if you're drawing a conclusion that those are ADUs or, and of course, I'm just now looking at the paper, but
Okay, well, thank you for pointing it out. That was John's team, and so I asked him, because they met quite a lot, what actionable things could we move out on? And I think they chose ADUs because you guys have asked us to take a look at that. So I think that's how why he carved it out of the overall diversifying of housing types.
okay.
Thank you for that. We'll correct that to make it clearer. And that actually was the one I was going to point out, that the team in general, John's team, is advocating for citywide ADUs, which is what they had recommended, or at the very least, ADUs, accessory dwelling units, throughout the urban overlay. Okay. No questions? Great.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
You'll let me come back and do a brief presentation again?
Sure,
Since I did
absolutely.
this so quick. All right, and again, I just want to thank everybody who participated, because we had a lot of meetings and a lot of conference calls, and we do appreciate everything y'all did. Thank you.
Thank you to everybody who participated in this. Now, Madam Clerk, we'll move on to ordinances on final reading. 5A, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 35, Article 2, Division 1, relative to the Passenger Vehicle for Hire Board.
Councilman Smith.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor with the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposes nay. Excuse me. Motion carries. B, please.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a sanitary sewer easement in the 200 block of West 16th Street on property located at 1514 Coward Street, as detailed on the attached map, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Mitchell, followed by Councilwoman Burrs. Yeah, do your thing again. Gotcha.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Your district, with your approval, I would like to move approval.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded by Vice Chairman Henderson. Questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Now we move on to ordinances on first reading. 6A, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, by adding a new Chapter 11, Article 21, Downtown Central Business Improvement District, Downtown CBID, Sections 11525 through 11534.
We have Councilman Mitchell, followed by Councilman Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Been around this city for quite a while, all my life. And first time this effort was tried was over 20 years ago. And I think we probably as a community weren't ready for it. But in my opinion, the way government works best is when it's actually led by the people who have the stake in it to make it work. And at that point, I'll follow. Of course, this part of it, I guess I'm leading, but you got us here. And I want to thank everyone here that was a part of this, but we have well over a majority of business owners in this area that are for this. And so with that, I move approval.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchell, and it's been duly seconded by Councilman Burrs. Any questions? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. We got it. Let me see who's next. Councilwoman Coonrod, you're next.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with what you're saying, Jerry. But unfortunately, I think that I wish that it was the opposite of hearing what the public had to say first, and then we vote on it. Could we table this to after the hearing and then bring it back for a vote, or do we have to vote on it now? And then,
Mr. Attorney? Take it off.
I'll make sure I got that on here. There's a requirement in the code, at least under Tennessee Code 784-515, to have 2 or more readings before passage of an ordinance. And it says all readings shall be held prior to the public hearing except the final reading. Under Robert's Rules of Order, there is a provision for a motion to lay something on the table, but I believe a motion to lay it on the table has to have a second before that can occur. If that occurs, then a motion to lay things on the table, it has to be voted on next in order here under Robert's Rules. And a motion to lay something on the table can be taken from the table under Section 34 of Robert's Rules at the next session, when the next meeting that you have. So that's the process. The only confusion, I guess, in this statute is the fact that it says that the final reading has to occur, and so that the adoption may take place at the conclusion of the final reading under 784-516. But there is a provision if you have a motion, but you do not have a second at this time.
Okay, at this time, Vice Chairman Henderson, would you like to have something to say?
So first, I'd like to clear up this issue of whether we can table this or not. Phil, so this is really the question. If we table it tonight in order to get to the public hearing,
Yes, sir.
does the does the final vote have to take place on the same night as the public hearing? Or can we take the first vote after the public hearing?
I guess you have a charter requirement under section 11.2 of your charter that talks about how ordinances are to be adopted. You can't have an ordinance to be validly adopted unless it passes on two separate readings on two separate days. It can't pass on the same reading. But you have an opportunity to be able to do that under the statute, because the statute says, accept the final reading so that the adoption may take place at the conclusion of the public hearing. If you have another reading requirement, that's the only issue you'd have.
Well, I still, okay.
If I could, I'm sorry, I'll just chime in because I just pulled the law. At the conclusion of such a public hearing, which we've already referenced, the governing body shall adopt as amended, or reject the organization of a central business district by the adoption or rejection of an ordinance. So the adoption or rejection has to happen at the same time as the public hearing. It's the sentence directly before the one that Phil was referencing. And I can share copies with the council.
Thank you.
So so we have to have the adoption or rejection on the same night as the public hearing.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So laying it on the table would make the public hearing be put off, correct? Let me ask you this, can we have the public hearing before we have the first vote?
Not based upon this statute. This statute, at least, is requiring there to be.
So we have to have a vote
Yes, sir.
before we get to the public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me just say this then.
Go ahead.
And I want to be very clear. I would choose to vote in the affirmative tonight on the motion just to get to the public hearing. And I want to be very clear about that. I think we ought to hear from the public. I had two criteria personally to support this. One was that no public tax dollars go into this bid. The second would be that it has overwhelming support. I need to see that overwhelming support or the lack thereof. So in order to see the support or the lack thereof, I feel like we need to get to the public hearing. So I would support it based on that.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Chair. Okay, at this time, we have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor? I tell you what, let's do a roll call. Yeah, start with Councilwoman Burris, please.
Burrs.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Please.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. I have to agree, I read the law a little differently. There is a shall and a may there. I believe that we've called for a public hearing. I don't think that's sacrosanct. This council has a long history of having two readings, but listening to the public before we do anything. I'm very much favor bids, by the way. I'm in favor of them. I think this process, once again, is the state telling the city, occupying the whole field, how to behave. And I am very much against the process. So I'm not going to vote no because I'm not against bids, but I'm put in a position where I think we haven't had full hearing before we vote, and so I'm going to abstain from this vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Madam
Burr.
Clerk.
Go Rod.
Councilwoman, hit your button, please.
Can you hear me?
Okay, we
Yeah,
got you now.
I'm really torn between this because like the process is very important, and it's also important to me to hear from our community members in which we haven't had the opportunity to do so. And in order to do so, we have to vote for something that's is being presented. Really not, Kim, she did an excellent job in presenting the information about it. I think it's a great opportunity for the downtown. You know, I've relayed my issues that I do have with the bid, but I'm just really concerned about this process. I understand that the state is basically forcing us, and I really don't like to be forced to do things, but I want to make sure that we hear from the property owners downtown to give them a chance, opportunity to voice their concerns as well. So today I'm going to vote yes in order to hear from the property owners.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Gilbert?
I got a question. Phil,
Yes, sir.
regardless of this pass or fail, we still have to hear him next week, correct?
Yes, sir.
Regardless.
Yes, sir. We've scheduled them by advertisements 3 weeks in a row running here in the paper. Yes, sir.
Okay. No?
Yes, sir.
Henderson?
Yes.
Ledford? No. Mitchell? Yes. Smith? No. Oglesby?
Yes.
That's 5 yes.
5 yeses.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, and we will move on to the public hearing at 6 o'clock on June the 4th. You got something? Okay, Councilman Henderson?
Phil,
Yes, sir.
so before the next vote,
Yes, sir.
and I heard Ms. White say earlier that we had to opt in, I would like to have a provision in this ordinance that prevents or keeps us from opting in to the bid so that no taxpayer dollars go into this.
I was asking that question between our meetings on here, and I was trying to make sure in our code, or in our, the Business Improvement District Ordinance, the provisions of the law, and there is a section 784-523 that says that no special assessment will be levied on any government-owned property, including but not limited to any property owned by the county or a building authority without the approval of the governmental entity. I can do a draft saying during the term of this, it would not occur if that's what you wish.
Please.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman Byrd?
Mic on? Good. I would like further discussion on the council's obligations. One of the things that I spoke about was the fact that the council has to approve things, there's a lot of intermingling with the bid and government. And I'm a bit concerned about that because it puts us, if they want to raise their rates, I think they should be able to. We were told this was a fee, but it's being treated like a tax with the county levying it. And I understand that. Bids work all different ways. I think my concern has been that there are a number of things in the offering that I think there should be a little more discussion about before we vote, before we support it. So it's a win-win for everybody. One of the things that came up is a possible amendment that said that property owners, will they be allowed to pass the costs on to renters so that there's really no cost for property owners? There's some issues like that I'm very concerned about, that according to Phil, and I guess at this point Stacy, there will be no discussion of that. And I think that in order to place a vote, I'd be derelict if I didn't have either amendment that forbids that, or at least there's discussion about that. Those are my concerns, not the bid itself. Bids are good, and we've, for some reason, gone out of our regular process. I understand. We can still have the public hearing whether we vote it up or down, and yet we were told we had to vote it up because that's when the public hearing could take place. I think everything in this ought to be really straightforward so that this bid is successful and a successful model for other bids in the city. Those are my concerns, Mr. Chair. So I think we've gotten a couple of legal messages here, and I'm concerned about that. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comment. With that being said, it has been approved, and there will be a public hearing. And any recommendations you may have at this time, Mr. City Attorney, other than the fact that we can move on?
You are required to have two separate readings. If there's amendments that occur, that may at least delay you regardless under your rules here. We'll have to see where that goes. But we will try to comply with the state law in accordance with any amendments that you make.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Kumrai,
Thank you, Chair.
you're on.
Thank you, just for clarity, because I don't want to feel like I was lied to. So, City Attorney,
Yes, ma'am.
so if we vote for it or against it, we still will have this public hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's state law.
'Cause you-
If I could clarify, in order for the bid to be passed, period, you had to vote in the affirmative tonight. In order to get to the public hearing, for the bid to have a fighting chance whether to exist or not exist, Councilwoman. If you had voted it down tonight, you could have the public hearing, but all these great people would have shown up, told you whether they loved it or not loved it, and you would have not been able to establish it, because you have to take the adoption or rejection on the same night as the public hearing. It's just a little bit of a conflict between y'all's normal process and what the state thinks the process should be. So what Phil and I are saying are different shades of the same color.
It just don't turn out to be gray.
I'd be happy to provide you the language. It's essentially the first reading, you're opening the door that it may be adopted at the second reading, which has to be, unfortunately, the same night as your hearing.
Right, I understand
Phil, does
that.
that make
but-
sense?
Yes.
Yeah, you explained it exactly how they explained it, but I was never told that if we voted no or voted down, that we still would have a hearing. It was projected to me, can't speak on nobody else, is that in order for us to have the hearing, the public hearing, this is the way that it needed to be. So,
I apologize if that was unclear. You could have the hearing, it just would be for nothing because you couldn't have a bid. I apologize if there was any misconception. That wasn't our intention. Certainly, I'm sure it wasn't Phil's either.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, is that it? You good?
And can I recall my vote?
Okay. She wants to recall her vote.
Okay.
But I'm just,
It has to be a motion to reconsider.
Okay, then it has to be a motion to reconsider?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it need a motion and a second and a vote, right?
Yes.
Okay. So is that your motion on the
Well-
floor to reconsider?
today, I'm gonna let you have it today, cause I like you,
Okay.
Erskine.
All
I'm gonna
right.
let you have it today.
Okay. I'm good. Whatever works. So we can move on to the rest of our business for this evening. Okay, Madam Clerk, B, please.
An ordinance to amend-
6B.
Yes. An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 11, Article 20, Short-Term Vacation Rental Certificate, Section 11510, by amending the definition of short-term vacation rental district to adopt a new short-term vacation rental overlay district map.
Councilman Mitchell.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Ledford. Questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Motion's nay. Carries. C, please.
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 24, Section 24-2, relating to police jurisdiction over interstate highways, and Chapter 24, Section 24-21, relating to slow poke law.
What's your pleasure, council?
Move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to resolutions. 7A, please.
A resolution authorizing the city finance officer to amend the financial advisory services agreement with Public Financial Management, PFM, to include services related to the redemption of certain debt for a fee of $8,000.
Councilwoman Burrs. It's been moved and properly seconded. Questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. B, please.
A resolution authorizing the Chief Information Officer, CIO, to execute a contract with Zycron Information Technology Services and Solution as a provider of professional services for the Department of Information Technology for a period of 1 year, beginning May 28, 2019 through May 27, 2020, with 2 optional annual renewals for an amount not to exceed $1.1 million per contract year.
What's your pleasure, council? It's been moved and properly second. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. C, please.
A resolution authorizing the award of contract number E19003-201 to Tri-State Roofing Contractors, LLC of Chattanooga, Tennessee, replacement roofing system for Watkins Street facility in the amount of $311,544 with a contingency amount of $31,000 for a total amount of $342,544.
Councilwoman Coonrod. It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Smith. Questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. D, please.
A resolution authorizing renewal of contract number E16001-401 on-call blanket contracts for resident project representative services, RPR, for year 4 of 5 with 1, Woods Environmental Infrastructure Solutions, Inc., 2, Arcadis US, Inc., 3, ASA Engineering and Consulting, Inc., 4, Barge Solutions, 5, CD Technical Services, 6, CTI Engineers, Inc., 7, McGill Associates, PA, 8, S&ME, Inc., 9, Thompson Engineering, Inc., 10, Vaughn and Melton Consulting Engineers, and 11, Volker, Inc., for year 4 of a 5-year term within these 11 professional firms, estimated at $1,250,000 total annually for use by all departments.
Councilman Mitchell.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Smith. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. E, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Transportation to enter into an agreement with Gresham Smith for professional services associated with Moccasin Bend Connector Manufacturers Ham Road Gateway Extension, contract number T150101101, with the city's portion in the amount of $47,399 for a total amount of $236,995.
What's your pleasure?
Move approval. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. Now we move on to purchases. Good evening,
Good
Bonnie.
evening. To begin with, we have one emergency purchase to report to you tonight on behalf of the Public Works Department. If I may ask Mr. Holland to come forward as well. This is for the emergency purchase of the replacement of the WNOO radio tower, which is awarded to Central Line Communications, a total tower company. The total amount of the purchase was $198,600. And this purchase was for the emergency replacement of a radio tower that was damaged during the Public Works Department sewer maintenance performance. And as you've had in the agenda, the justification for that transaction.
Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Holland, do we have a use for that tower we're buying? Or at least the old one?
We do have a use for WNOO to get back up and running. So
No use for the old one?
we don't have a use for the old one at this point.
Okay.
So
Thank
I would just briefly tell the council that we are working hard with WNOO to get them back up and on air. We've worked with their broadcast engineer and a contractor. A guy wire was clipped during a right-of-way or during an easement clearing operation, and which caused the tower to fall. So we are working hard with Clear Communications to get them back up on air.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
on to our regular purchases tonight. The first purchase we have for your consideration is on behalf of the fire department. It is a blanket contract renewal for HVAC services, repair, equipment, and installation for the radio shop location in Knoxville, to be awarded to Mountain City Service, Inc., in an estimated annual amount of $25,000. The next two purchases are on behalf of the Department of Youth and Family Development, the first being a new blanket contract for the lease of furniture for the Edney Innovation Center location, to be awarded to COS Business Products and Interiors in an amount of $25,512. Next, a blanket contract renewal for baby diapers and wipes, to be awarded to Diapers for Less, Inc., in an estimated annual amount of $135,000. Next, on behalf of the Information Technology Department, we have a new blanket contract for annual maintenance for Geospatial and ArcGIS mapping services, to be awarded to New Origin Systems, Inc., in an estimated annual amount of $35,000. On behalf of the Purchasing Division, we have three new blanket contracts for multipurpose printing paper, to be awarded to first, Interstate Business Solutions, second, Staples Contract and Commercial LLC, and third, American Paper and Twine Company, and the total estimated annual amount will be $65,000. The next three purchases are on behalf of the Transportation Department, the first being a blanket contract renewal for preformed speed cushions, to be awarded to Traffic Logics Corporation, and an estimated annual amount of $201,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for pedestrian street light poles, to be awarded to Sun Valley, and an estimated annual amount of $95,250, and a blanket contract renewal for street marker posts, to be awarded to Vulcan, Inc., and an estimated annual amount of $35,000. The remainder of our purchases are on behalf of the Public Works Department. First, we have a new blanket contract for wet weather polymer, to be awarded to Polydine, Inc., and an estimated annual amount of $476,500. Next, two new blanket contracts for decal removal for light and heavy-duty vehicles, to be awarded to First Century South, Inc., and second, Pro Auto and Fleet Detailing, in a total estimated annual amount of $40,000. Next, two new blanket contracts for waste and recycling receptacles, to be awarded to First, Recycle Away, LLC, and second, Sitescapes, Inc., in a total estimated annual amount of $65,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for window replacement and tinting services, to be awarded to Ross Glass and Aluminum, LLC, in an estimated annual amount of $200,000. Next, blanket contract renewal for weigh scale services, to be awarded to Wingfell Scale Company, Inc., in an estimated annual amount of $30,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for ladder climbing safety equipment, to be awarded to Airgas LLC, in an estimated annual amount of $200,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for rental equipment, to be awarded to Herc Rentals, Inc., in an estimated annual amount of $25,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for sewer maintenance equipment, to be awarded to Environmental Products and Accessories LLC, in an estimated annual amount of $30,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for turf management for parks, to be awarded to True Green, in an estimated annual amount of $50,000. Next, two blanket contract renewals for workforce safety equipment, to be awarded to first, Rolade Industrial Supply, and second, D&T Trucking Company, in a total estimated annual amount of $40,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for stump grinding and removal services, to be awarded to LH Lewis Tree Services, in an estimated annual amount of $32,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for masonry materials for local pickup, to be awarded to TT Wilson Company, in an estimated annual amount of $40,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for triaxle dump trucks, to be awarded to Lee Smith, Inc., in an estimated annual amount of $911,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for janitorial services, to be awarded to Metro Janitorial Services, Inc., in an estimated annual amount of $31,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for playground and outdoor fitness equipment and services, to be awarded to Game Time, Inc., in an estimated annual amount of $250,000. And finally, a blanket contract renewal for concrete pipe, to be awarded to Foley Products Company, in an estimated annual amount of $260,000.
Council, what's your question? What's your pleasure?
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Coonrod. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to other bit. Councilman Gilbert.
Bonnie, where are we at with the pest control contract?
We are currently, the Public Works Department has widened the scope of that contract, is in the process of rebidding it.
You know about when we're gonna have to see it, we will see it?
When you will see it, as
For
soon
us.
as we've had to make a lot of adjustments in response to what went on before. So as soon as we can get it reasonably processed, you'll see it.
Okay, so it'll be soon.
As soon as we can get it done, yes.
Okay. All right, it's 2 weeks from now.
I'm sorry,
So I ask you again about 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now?
Yeah.
That would not be reasonable, no.
How long has it been since we've been without it?
Since the meeting in which the issue was raised
About a
in this
month ago?
context.
About a month ago, month and a half?
Yes.
Okay, appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to invite everybody out on this Saturday, June the 1st, from 10 a.m. until noon at Greater Second Missionary Baptist Church. Office of Family Empowerment will be there on site. The address is 810 Shalaford Road. If anybody need assistance with getting their energy bill taken care of, and there will be other resources provided. There will be vendors on site. I just want to make sure that we're empowering the community. All Hamilton County residents are invited to come and check it out, apply for these resources available. Again, if you know anybody who may need assistance on their light bill, gas bill, any of those things, or you just want to come see what resources are available from the Office of Family Empowerment, please join us June the 1st from 10 a.m. until noon. And also on June the 24th, there's an event that's going to be held at the Etna Building that's catered to women and young ladies. It's called Hurt and Heal, and it's going to be June the 14th at from 5 to 7. Please encourage your young ladies to come out, and women as well, because we're dealing with historical hurts, and we want to talk about that and begin the healing process. In no way was it intended to leave out our men. That segment is coming up next following this one, so thank you. You all are invited.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Is there any other council persons want to share other business? Now we'll move on to committee reports. Councilwoman Burris. There you go.
We seem to have a problem with this mic, don't we? Yeah, well, there's that too. So we're well at work. We have responsibility for about a, $670 million budget, and we had our second set of hearings today relative to education, and we worked from 10 till 2 o'clock. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we will meet again next week, and we will be talking about the traffic division and other subjects. It's all public, and we welcome people to come and listen. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman. No report. Kumar. No report. Mr. Gilbert?
No report.
No report, sir.
I know the feeling. Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr.
Wait a minute, hit it again. I got excited here. We're almost through. All right, thank you, Councilman.
First, unfortunately, Councilman Ledford had a community meeting he had to go to tonight, so I'm going to announce that he will have a planning and zoning committee meeting next week. And then I would like to move on to Public Works and Transportation. Today we had a departmental report from Public Works, and where we were presented with some new technology to pick up litter from the streets and curbs and stormwater drains, as well as ditches and things like that. And that was, to me, pretty exciting to be able to do that type of work very quickly now, or at least much more quickly. And then we had a Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting after that, and we will have another one in 2 weeks after agenda session. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Smith.
No report.
Thank you, sir. Now we come to the time for recognition of person wishing to address the council on non-agenda items. Mr. Attorney, would you please read the rules?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
At the end of each meeting, the chair will recognize anybody here that wishes to address the council. Here's your rules. Each speaker coming to address the council can only be addressing it at the microphone up front. You can only have 3 minutes to speak. You have to address the council only on matters that are within their legislative or quasi-judicial authority. Don't use any vulgar, obscene language or use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others, and address your comments to the council as a whole, not to specific council members. And you can't speak more than twice in any 30-day time period. So if you meet all those, come on up.
I want to thank y'all. My name's Sylvester Harris. I guess y'all pretty well know who I am, but I tell you again for those who might have forgot, you know, I'm an advocate for East Chattanooga. And but what I wanted to say was sometime, you know, when we complain about a lot of stuff, and people, you know, they listen, but I want to give a shout out to, you know, Councilman Byrd and Coonrod for what they're doing out there in East Chattanooga. I think they're working hard, and I know they got a lot of other agendas in their life, because when you got a family, you got kids, you got your house to tend to, and you got a lot of stuff, and people calling you, wanting stuff immediately. And times when I call Mr. Byrd, you know, he's been stepping forward. And sometimes what we say, sometimes we want our flowers when we're on earth, not after we're gone. So sometimes I want to give you your shout and her shout that y'all doing a good job. Just keep doing what you're doing and keep pushing forward. It's going to always be some problems and some people not agreeing, because I'm not going to agree with you all the time. You know, we argue and fuss about a lot of stuff, but as long as we can still come to the situation where we try to make East Chattanooga good. And that's the main thing. Like we talk about Trump always saying, let's make America good. You know, I'm always talking about let's make East Chattanooga good. Because at one time, East Chattanooga was a prosperous place, but it seemed to kind of went down. But in that sense, you know, it took time to do it. It's going to take time to get it back. And like we talked about a lot of steep slopes with the council. And I look at them going everywhere else, but then I'm thinking East Chattanooga is as flat as it can be. And I want y'all to start focusing on East Chattanooga. But I do want to thank you and thank both of y'all for what y'all doing in East Chattanooga. Maybe you don't always get your praises, and sometimes you need that. You need a pat on the back, because sometimes all the negative talk sometimes get frustrating. But realize there's people out there for you, not against you. You know, so you got to stand tall. You didn't go to school to be a councilman. You had to learn how to be one. So just keep learning and keep your head up and keep your spirits high, because it's a hard job, but keep pushing forward. And also with the council that have tried to help people in East Chattanooga, and especially I want to give a shout out to Chip. He gave me a plan to help a few people, and they have been showing up, coming to me saying thank you. And I don't want to take all the praise for that. And I want to tell you thank you too for helping Mr. Byrd do his job, because what you did for him, you said, well, East Chattanooga, you've been saying that we're not giving y'all what y'all need out there, so I want to try to help y'all. And helping Byrd was a good thing. He's a good man. He's a young man. He's learning. And we learn every day, but you never get too old to learn. So, but if y'all can help East Chattanooga out, all your extra councilmen that can help us, give us a help. Plus, I don't like my 3 minutes, but I take it. And
Thank you.
And thank y'all very much. And keep doing a good job, what y'all doing. And shouts out to all y'all that helping out in East Chattanooga, because it can come back. My dreams is, I'm seeing, oh yeah, let me say one more thing. Thank you. Thanks for whoever tried to get the store. The gym is becoming to look something beautiful. And we're seeing things prospering out in East Chattanooga. We just want a little bit more. And thank y'all again. And thank you for the extra time.
Thank you, Sylvester. Uh-oh. Yeah, it's okay. It's not you. And Mr. Sylvester, I'm not an extra councilman. I'm a full-time councilman, okay? I mean, all of us, other than, Bird. I'm just having fun with you, man. You know how we are. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, sir, for the flowers. Yes, sir, you have the floor.
Hey, so I grew up on 17th Street, 17th and Jefferson.
Excuse me, name, sir?
Darian Wood. I grew up on 17th Street, Jefferson. My family had land over there. And I would always go see my grandfather. And as I seen 17th and Jefferson change, I didn't know what was happening. Okay, and a lot of people didn't. We didn't know that eventually there would be $400,000 houses over there. Because from the reports, they were supposed to be going to build affordable housing in that neighborhood. And so now, as we pay attention to what's happening in East Chat, people who are my age, we're coming up and we're wondering, I want a home for my son one day. And as I go through the process of going through C&E, as I do all these things they tell me I need to do to get a home, I'm wondering what's gonna be left for me by the time I can do that. Y'all spoke about getting out-of-town investors who don't take care of their properties out of the city. But I feel like we need to take care of, we need to get rid of out-of-town investors who are also coming into the city outbidding working class people for homes. They're willing to pay an extra $10,000, $20,000 for a $120,000 home to keep somebody who's, this is an out-of-town investor who has plenty of money versus somebody who has a job at Volkswagen, at Wrigley's, at Amazon. And they're getting outbid from homes from out-of-town investors. And I'm wondering what does this council plan to do about that? And you might say it's free enterprise, but I feel like once you started giving tax breaks out, like free enterprise went out the door. After what happened downtown, we realized that this thing can get out of hand really fast. And I would hate to see, some people might like to see it, but I would hate to see $400,000 homes in East Chat. Because what that means, if you have $4,000 homes in North Chat and on 8th Street, in Jefferson Heights, on the south side, then where are working class people gonna live at? With the new addition of the arena downtown in East Ridge, property values are gonna go up over there. Property values are going up drastically all over the city. And people are buying houses like crazy. And oftentimes it's not like working class people. We're buying some, but it's out of town investors. I think there was you had something like 4,000 homes empty in Chattanooga because investors are buying up the property and they're charging outrageous amounts of rent. Like, are we gonna stop this? And I ask these questions as I ride through East Chat and I see all these orange stickers going up. And I'm wondering, are these people who have bought these homes and are remodeling their homes, or are these out-of-town investors? Because I feel it's criminal to buy a $60,000 home and turn it into a $200,000 home, knowing that nobody in that neighborhood can buy that home. That is outrageous. And some people might feel like it's free enterprise, it's good investment, but I mean, as we know, if we look back at 2008, the housing market crashed. All investment isn't good investment. I'm just wondering what we're gonna do. And I really wanna ask the city council, I heard about your $20,000 plan to help people. I don't think that's enough. Because $20,000 is what we did in Jefferson. And the reason a lot of young black people didn't buy homes over in there is because we couldn't get the loans. And it's discouraging. You can have a $750 credit score, and they will tell you no, because you don't have debt. You can be a person who actually saves your money and does right, but Orlando sends you 4 bills, 4 or 5 different bills, and all of a sudden you got something on your credit report, and they tell you, well, no, we can't do it because you got collections. Those are nothing but medical collections. Never had a car repoed, never had our rent taken. Can we get EPB to start reporting to our credit reports? Can we get the water company to start reporting to our credit reports?
Sir,
so that we can
I
get
appreciate everything, but your time is up, and we will keep that in your thoughts. And we really do appreciate those well-thought-out comments. Yes, sir. Thank you. I believe you did have quite a bit over your time, though.
Is the time not showing on the screen?
I'm sorry. Hold on. Councilman Byrd, I'm sorry. No, I told him not to go nowhere. Okay. Councilman Coonrod, you want to speak?
Councilwoman, sorry.
Council, I'm sorry.
Sorry. What's your name again, sir? Darian. Not for sure if you're familiar with a program that I heard you mention that you went through C&E, and there's a representative here from C&E and their programs, and it sounds like it didn't work out with C&E. But there is an organization that's out of Atlanta that also do work in Chattanooga. It's called NACA, NACA. And they utilize the reporting that you just stated, if we can use the same thing, because CNE doesn't. So they use like your utility bill payments, on-time payments, if you're paying a car note, different things like that. Even utilize your rental history to make payments. So they think outside of the box of the traditional way that maybe CNE is using. And if you would like that information, I'll be more than happy to give it to you after council. And so you can, you know, if you want to become a homeowner, then you can utilize their resources as well. I heard you mention about the 20,000 that you may feel like, hey, that's not enough. But we want to make sure that whatever we have resources available for you, that it's going to be enough to make sure that you get you and your kids into a home that you can afford to pay. It may not be a $3,000 home or a $4,000 home in Jefferson Heights, but it may be what's affordable to you to live in the East Chattanooga area. And that's what I want to make sure that you're doing. In fact, you may can qualify to be a part of this duplex thing if you want to live on one side, own the duplex, and then rent the other side, which is a great thing to do too. But I want to make sure that you know that we're here for you, to make sure that we're addressing your needs and helping you to become a homeowner, even if it's outside of Chattanooga, to get the help that you need.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for sharing that. Oh, okay, thank you.
You dropped your phone?
Stay. We good? Nothing? 1 second.
That's all right. Just let me know when I can start.
Okay. Yeah. Nothing? Okay, yeah, I know you're ready to get started.
It's okay.
So, yeah. Okay, look like is it on? I mean, I'm showing 3 minutes here. The margin.
Yes.
Please, we don't want to hold you up. Go ahead.
Well, just let me know when I can start.
All right.
I can start? I can start?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Council. My name
Okay,
is-
time's up. Just go ahead, please. I just wanted to make you smile, okay? Come on.
My name is Marie Mott, and I want to kind of echo the sentiments of Darian, and that is that there is an economic divide that we know exists in the city of Chattanooga, and that is racism. When we talk about a business innovation district that is talking about downtown, are those hubs going to be on the Black South Side? Are they going to be in Eastdale? Are they going to be in East Chattanooga, Alton Park? When we talk about building up the bottom class that's here in the city of Chattanooga, how does that fare? And a lot of the decision-making, place-making, law-making that happens here in city government. I'm aggrieved in my spirit, but also I'm aggrieved because my neighbors seem to be aggrieved. And why are they aggrieved? They're aggrieved because we are left out of the process. And the more that we continue to ignore that, the more that we are participating in widening an economic gap. I already know that Kim White wants to run for mayor. So the Business Innovation District has really little to do about the people, even if they support it, more than it has to do about her thinking in the future about being our mayor and wanting to utilize that as a platform, which I've heard her privately discuss, of what she wants to do to say that Chattanooga is this great place in the United States of America. And yet, we have some of the most gentrified zip codes. Yet, we have some of the most impoverished people. Yet, we have some of the largest economic and racial divides. They are historic, they are real, and we see them. And I think that it's really time that this council really needs to have a discussion, not with people just in your age range, but I think it's time to have a real discussion with millennials and people who are younger than me who leave this city and don't come back. There is no future of the city of Chattanooga without us. There is no future. Do you want this to be a retirement city? How's that gonna work? Family, this is not working. I'm not happy with this. And as quiet as it's kept, the people aren't satisfied either. They're discouraged and they rather not waste their time coming down, getting in front of a mic and trying to relay how frustrated that we are. But it's time to get real. If we're not talking about equity, then we're not talking about justice. And I think that part of why this fabricated housing crisis is fabricated, the reason why people are spreading out into our neighborhoods, we got to be very careful, family. That dilutes not only our voting power, but our representation of African Americans that are on this city council. So it's not that we're just being displaced. We will lose Black people being able to be on this council and speak to our issues. That is gerrymandering, family. And the 1964 Civil Rights Act says that you cannot use any federal, state, or local tax dollars that would exclude anybody based on race, origin, or gender. So how do we have an economic divide unless we are discriminating?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, sir, come on up.
I've been charged again by a white young lady Sunday at a dinner at J.C. Tower of HUD number 2.
Before you continue, would you just please state your name for the record?
Thomas Owens Jr.
Okay.
1947, I was born in Onion Bottom by Cola Elizabeth Taylor. My father's name was Thomas Owens. Park Avenue, not 12th Street. I was charged Sunday again by speaking wrong of my Democratic Party for 51 years of the Democratic Party. I was 23, the governor office first, 2 of them. Then President former Carter. President won our caucus in Iowa. I was charged again and signed a piece of paper this morning before I left. I had to give away. And 10 here and speak my piece. Of the Democratic Party, they don't like this. And of the Holy Word of God, neither Tower 1 or 2, 500 West Martin Luther King Boulevard, don't like it. This card, the old card used to be yellow. This is the new one of today, 2019. My card comes from the Riverside Drive. Had been. This part, I have to fill out if I move, if I don't, send it in. I'm good, still supporting the Democrat of having profit unions, the BA for 30 years. Who was of the BA first? Not a Korean from Korea of America. Look at that, who supported the military. Navy, Army, Marine. I signed a piece of paper again. My rent has went up again. In a money order, I paid, when I got there, April of last month, the 4th day, I paid $274. No money, money order. When I traveled years ago on Greyhound from Nashville to Atlanta, Jamaica, I always had 5 money order. Till the money for rent. I stayed at the hotel where President Bowman Nixon stayed in 1976 in Nashville. Went across the way to see the governor of 1974 up on the hill from the Hyatt Hotel. I haven't been there since 2000, I think. I go and come as I please by that restaurant, in a hotel, by this card. Miss Sarah had me to sign another form of piece of paper. I did something to somebody at the towel at the eating of the dinner Sunday evening. I paid $2, got my receipt in that bag.
All right.
The lady fed me, I was paying her money. I bring
Okay.
food for her to cook.
Thank you very much. We can continue as we always do after our meetings here today. Thank you.
Sanctified in veto.
Absolutely.
Anointed of prophets. Kenneth Copeland, Benny Hinn, you haven't been here, Kenneth Copeland came here
Demetrius.
in 1990.
Demetrius, you still want to say something?
Blind.
Hit your thing. Councilwoman, hit your mic.
Thank you so
have the
much,
mic?
Chair.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, I had my hit my buzzer before he came up and he gave us an eloquent speech. But I just got some concerns about what Ms. Mott said, and I know often that we try to sit up here and pretend like the things that she says just doesn't affect us as a people, and it does, because the reality of it is that it's true. And it's not the council's fault that it's that way. But Marie Mott, do you have any suggestions or any ideas of what you would like to see? How can the council help you, meetings? Would you like to organize a meeting and invite us to it, or how would you?
Well, the council person for District 8 can keep this
Yeah.
campaign promise, which is
Yeah.
make that the first historic
Yeah.
African-American neighborhood.
Wait a minute. Sorry, Ms. Ma. Can y'all have that conversation after the meeting? Because she does bring relevant things, but she's already spoken, and this is not a back and forth thing, so.
Right. Well, we weren't going back and forth. Just want to know how can we service her? Because
You can, you feel free to use yours. This is not like you can Congress anything. You can
Right.
yield it to anybody else.
Well, just
It's-
want to know
Those are your 3 minutes.
how we can get a solution
No.
to her issues. Is that what she's bringing? We hear a lot of her. She speaks, and then there's no solution. And I just want to know how can I, as a representative of District 9, if it's any parts of my district, how can we service her? And she needs to be commended because the young lady is everywhere. She is often helping everybody's district. I want to know, how can I help you, Marie, in the community that you live in over in Oak Grove? How can we partner together to make the city great for everybody to, begin to thrive, right? We can only throw punches at everybody for so long, but if we're not engaging with each other and working with each other in a positive manner to come up with solutions that's going to be workable,
Yeah.
that's what I'm interested in. How can we
All
help?
right, well, we can have that. No, it doesn't, Miss Ma, it doesn't work that way, okay?
City attorney, can she do that?
No,
Can the
ma'am.
citizen?
All right, well, I said she can, the city attorney can't, so if she wants to use her time,
Mr. Oglesby.
Yes,
see,
ma'am.
It's only one comment, and I really just want.
well, see, just like the young man that was in here earlier saying, trying to be equitable with everybody, that's what we're doing. You've had your 3 minutes, so if Ms. Woods would like to have her 3 minutes, Dr. Woods, if she would like to have her 3
Well,
minutes,
Marie,
she's welcome
if
to
you,
it.
don't mind afterwards, then we can get together
Yeah.
and just let me know how I can help, okay? Thanks.
Well, is there anybody else that would like to speak? Well, we can do that after the meeting. No, well, see, this is an opportunity for the audience to speak to us. This is not meant to be a discussion back. If you have a comment you would like to make, we'd love to hear you.
My name is Edward Green Jr. I reside at 4101 Gale Drive here in the city of Chattanooga. In 1977, there was a good friend of mine who was killed on South Broad Street at the Red Food Store. We just commemorated the law enforcement officers program this past week, and I was there to observe my best friend, who I tried to get a marking placed on South Broad Street before the Red Food Store closed. Mr. Hamler is buried in Forest Hill Cemetery. It's not far away from where he was actually killed. Last week I watched them, no disrespect to the gentleman who got ran over in the street. No disrespect to him because he was a policeman, but so was Clarence. There is no marking on South Broad Street. And this happened in 1977, August the 14th. My question is what is the procedure to get a marking for an officer who was actually killed in a holdup? That's my question.
Okay, we can talk after this and we'll go over what that process will look like, okay?
I'm fine with that. I just want my friend to have the same recognition as the other officers who have plaques, memorialized areas in this city. I just want that to happen before I die, because he and I were the best of friends, and he shouldn't have had to die like that, but God saw fit to take him. So I thank you so very much for hearing me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, and we'll talk right after we adjourn the meeting on what that process looked like. Is there anybody else like to speak before this council? We are adjourned.